Do you ever feel like in life, to be able to get ahead and to do the things that you want to do and have the life you want to have, that you need to cut things out of your life? You need to take parts of yourself out that are unhealthy or, preventing you getting where you want in order to be able to do those things. Well, today in this video, we're going to talk about how you can fully enjoy your life and all the pleasures that it has to offer, and actually use that as well to grow as a person and to get to the places that you want to get in a much more fun and enjoyable way. So hey, what's up family? If you're new here, my name's Mitch. I'm a coach helping you create a life, job, and impact that aligns with who you uniquely are, because you are awesome, my friend. And so what are we talking about here today? Basically, we're talking about how can you have your cake and eat it too? Sounds too good to be true. Well, the main premise of what we're talking about today comes from a book called Stealing Fire, written by Jamie Wheal. And he's got a business called the Flow Genome Project, where they talk about flow a lot and finding flow in your life and the benefits of finding flow, and also how, there's so many parts of life, like, he uses examples like psychedelic experiences or things that would be deemed as like, maybe unhealthy things, or, like drinking or going to a music festival, or things where you're like, okay, that's not explicitly like helping me get to my life goals. And it talks about the power that doing those things and having those experiences can have on you because of their ability to get you into flow, into enjoying life. The things that we derive pleasure from, that expand our minds, that open us to new experiences, that fill us with joy and flow, have the opportunity and the potential to teach us so much about ourselves as well as life. But like I was saying before, so many of these unhealthier pleasure outlets, often we suppress, particularly as we get older, because we're like, oh, I don't have time for that, or I've grown out of that and I need to focus on these things. And so we cut them out of our lives altogether. And I've definitely done this with a lot of things. Video games is a massive one for me. I basically just cut video games out of my life completely. Is that, the right thing for me at the moment? It's quite topical at the moment that I'm talking about this, because I'm considering bringing back an element of that into my life, because now that I've taken that fully out, like, I'm questioning, is it better to just cut that out completely because I had an unhealthy relationship with it? Or is it better to find a healthy relationship with it and still have something in my life that I do derive joy from and pleasure in certain aspects, but in a much more positive and healthy way? And so an example that a lot of us can probably relate to is alcohol. So alcohol is a pretty crazy cool drug when you think about it, because if we looked at like the positives of what alcohol can bring, I was thinking about it as I was thinking about, what I wanted to say in this video, and how many relationships, like strong bonds, have been built on alcohol. Like, how many people have you met for the first time when you were a little bit intoxicated and you just had this crazy awesome conversation, and you maybe didn't even have that much to do with them after that, or maybe you did, but like from that point on, you had a deep bond with that person. You would tell people, oh, that's a good guy. Yeah, no, he's awesome. And then as I went a little deeper than that, I was like, how many partners have been found on alcohol, because it, lowers our inhibitions and we have, we get to know each other. Like, how many people meet romantically in 2020 based on alcohol? A lot of people. And so the positives, the expression of like how when we're doing something that can bring us pleasure, the things we can gain from it, because we're able to be in that more relaxed, pleasurable flow kind of way, there's positives that can be taken from that. But there's also, on the other hand, some really negative things that can come from alcohol. I don't have to go into all the negatives of alcohol. I'm sure we all know that it can be taken, into an addiction. It can have really negative health consequences if not treated responsibly. And so this is where the hedonic calendar comes in that Jamie Wheal talks about in his book. And for the people that don't know, like, hedonic basically means like pleasurable sensation. So it's a calendar for all the things that you find pleasure from. And so the method behind doing this is that when we can calendar in and think about the relationship we want with all these pleasure-seeking outlets, we can keep them in our lives and allow them to teach us, allow them to expand us and open us to all the things that we love, we're capable of, and that the world is capable of giving us, whilst keeping a positive relationship with it that doesn't hinder us in progressing towards the things that we want or, becoming destructive. And so you're still moving towards the things that you want, and plus you're supported in that as well, because while you're on your way to that, you're having an awesome time because you're doing the things that you want. And you're also learning about yourself and the ways that you find flow, find enjoyment, find fulfillment from certain aspects, which that information can be incredibly valuable as you go through your life. And so there's 4 steps to creating your own hedonic calendar. And you can just type in Google if you want to find Jamie's own one. He has like a PDF, so you can just type in like hedonic calendar, Jamie Wheal. But I'll take you through really briefly the 4 stages in creating your own. So the first step in creating your own hedonic calendar is to get all of the ways in which you seek pleasure or find pleasure out onto a page. And as with all the journaling exercises and things that I sort of talk about here, all of these introspective things are only as powerful as you allow them to be and your honesty allows. So, don't have any shame about these things. If you derive pleasure from something that is, risky or shameful in, according to some people, or even illegal, like whatever it is, for now, just put those things on a page, just everything that you enjoy or find pleasure in, and just get everything out. And so then after we've got everything out and out on a page, now we're going to find the risk-reward ratio of each of these different things. And we're going to do that by scoring each of these items on how potentially damaging or risky or distracting or, detrimental they can be to your life if treated unhealthily, and give them a score out of 10 on that. And then give them a score out of 10 as well on how much pleasure you derive from them. How beneficial is it as well? And then we find sort of this level where it's like, okay, I really love doing this. This is like a 10 out of 10. But, if I'm doing that more than once a month, I know that's going to derail me. I know that's going to affect my life negatively. So now we can start to look at, okay, how do we want to have a relationship with all of these different items? And so that leads us into step 2. And so now that we have all of our items that we derive pleasure from and our risk reward ratio for each of them, now we're going to sort each of these into categories based on time. So daily, weekly, monthly, seasonal, or yearly. And so we're going to sort them into those piles based on how frequently now we want to add these pleasure-seeking outlets into our year. And so now, this is a bit fun because now we're starting to plan out a little bit loosely, like how we're going to bring fun and enjoyment into our lives again. And I know that for some people, again, there's emphasis on that because some of us just forget to do these things, or we push them to the side because we think there's, no value in them, or that we don't have time for that stuff. And I'm definitely guilty of this as well. And so, this whole process is really about finding the balance. And I read something the other day actually where it was talking about work-life balance, where it's not about finding balance, it's about integrating. It's not about balancing these two separate lives. It's about creating a life that is integrated with all of the things. And so once we've now categorized all of those items into those categories based on time, now we're moving into step 3, where we're going to try to attach as many of these as we can to things that we already do on a daily, weekly, monthly, seasonally, or yearly basis. Because it's really easy to bring in new habits when we are attaching them to things that we already do. If we're trying to bring in something completely new and we're, disrupting our whole life to bring that in, that can become a bit jarring. It can be hard. And so, if we're trying to bring in a new habit and it's like, okay, I'm going to slot that into my morning routine because I already have something there that I do, and I can just put that in there next to, for me this year, I wanted to add in more visualizations to my year. So a natural place for me to do that was to do it paired up with my meditation. So I'm not creating a whole new thing, I'm just bolting it on, and that keeps it easy to stay accountable to. But think about, even for the monthly ones or the seasonal ones or the yearly ones, what are things that occur on those time bases that I can attach this to? Maybe it's, Jamie uses some good examples of using the solstice, or using the moon cycles, or using the holidays. Think of all the ways in which the things that stand out for you, that you can start to attach some of these things to things that you already do, so you can implement them into your life. And the final step of the Hedonic Calendar is something that's been big on YouTube this year. It's kind of like the dopamine detox. And so it recommends that once a year, or whenever you choose, to take some time off from all of these hedonic pleasures that you've accrued and that you've been indulging in, which is really fantastic. But by doing this sort of detox or fast from all these pleasures, we allow ourselves to sense, okay, are they still healthy? If I take a week off from this, is that really jarring? Does that hurt more than I would like it to? Okay, maybe I need to ease off on that a little bit. Or, maybe you're not finding as much joy in something anymore, but it's giving you an opportunity to rethink some of these things, and then how you can plan and go forward in another really healthy and integrated way. And so that's basically how you do the Hedonic Calendar. And I think it's been a really interesting thing that's come into my life when I read this book a couple years ago. And it has been something I've fallen off with a little bit, I will admit. And that's why it's quite topical for me to do this at the moment, because I'm planning to redo it right now. Because I'm trying to bring a bit more joy and fun into my life. This year I've been trying to focus on creating my coaching business and all that. And when we're trying to push and make something happen and be productive and, become the person we want to become, it can be easy to let the fun, the joy, the things that are pleasurable slip out of our life, because it can be viewed as them getting in the way of your success or what you want to achieve. But you got to enjoy life as well. And when you're cutting all these things out of your life, when you're not allowing yourself to enjoy life, it's not sustainable. It's not something where you're creating a good, fun, enjoyable life, which that's what this is all about. This is what my channel and, my business is all about, is finding your purpose, your joy in creating a life you love that's impactful. And you can't do that if you suppress everything that could be deemed as unhealthy, but you still really love it. And, purpose and finding your purpose and finding meaningful things to do with your life is really something that I believe in and that I think people should work towards doing, and that I spend a lot of time on in my coaching and where I want to go with my coaching. And I think a lot of that comes down to, in finding your purpose, is finding the things that you find flow in, that energize you, that you find joy in. And I hate the whole, what are you passionate about? I hate that. But I do really, energized by and finding flow in, and the things that you just are lost in for 5 hours. Like, those are really great clues to, like, that could be an element to your purpose. Like, how can you break that down and be like, derive some sort of pattern from that? And so when we are indulging in these pleasurable outlets, in these ways that set us alight, they're not pointless. Like, they have purpose in them because they're leading you closer to your own purpose and to so many other things, as well as just like enjoying your life. So anyway, I'm rambling on now, but I hope you enjoyed this video on the Hedonic Calendar. Check out Jamie Wheel, and you can get the PDF of the exercise to do fully if you want to do that. I'm going to be bringing out some videos on goal setting and planning for next year, so I'm really excited about that. Let me know if there's any videos you want to see coming up before the end of the year, or anything you've taken from this one. Anyway, I'll stop rambling and I'll see you next time. Thanks, family. See ya.